The brand new Lord of the Rings The Shire set is available from Lego, and it certainly has been a controversial set among Lego fans, mainly because of the $270 price tag. Now, my wife went to the Lego store, she bought it, my youngest daughter and I, we built this set, and we are here to review it today to talk a little bit about that, but also do something a little different. I want to talk about the love and the hate, the hits and the misses of this set, because I think it is complex, and is one that I really want to spend some time delving into those nuances and complexities so that you have all the information you need in order to make up your mind if you want to buy that. So let's go ahead and dive in. The first hit that I want to talk about is Lego's done a fantastic job of making this feel like it is a cozy hobbit hole in the ground. This is something that requires a lot of advanced building techniques and some parts intensive build processes. So I think this is something to not gloss over, because there was some criticism of this set that focused on maybe it being a bit plain or not really befitting an 18+ set in terms of building styles. This does have a lot to it. I want to highlight a couple of aspects of this. The first one are these corner windows right here. These are set into the set, but in order to get everything around it and fit, you recess it inside, you use some hinge bricks to attach them to the sides, and then you build around it. And that building around it allows the contouring as well as some of the perspective and depth to get the windows recessed in feeling so that it does appear to be a hole in the ground. And I think that's a really nice job. And by the way, far superior than what we had in the 2012 set, because that's the natural comparison for this. There's some other really interesting building techniques that we see at various points throughout the set, including on the interior, where we have some wonderful chairs that require some new colors or newish colors of pieces, and some fun building techniques like the one at Bilbo's desk, which uses a handlebar piece, or the chairs by the table that use the Minecraft box piece that I think are fantastically done. To further get the look of Bag End, Lego created some new pieces for this set, including the windows, which I think are fantastic. They have the traditional panel castle windows, but they're rounded. We also have these rounded curved slopes that are smooth on top, no studs whatsoever, which are a really nice piece and add to the contouring of this set, something we didn't have available when, for instance, the Lion Knight's castle was built. We also got the macaroni tiles that are placed around the windows, which are fantastic prints and have this brick-like feel to them, which is fantastic and works really, really well for Bag End. Other aspects of this build made it very cozy. The interior with the pens as candles with melted wax. The printed rug pieces are fantastic, and they might not be as versatile as what we see in Lord of the Rings with those Nexo Knight shield prints, but they are still really good. I also really like the fact that you have multiple fireplaces in the set. You don't see a lot of Lego sets that have multiple fireplaces. This one does, and one of them has a nice play feature that allows you to reveal the One Ring. I also want to give a shout out to the coat rack, which uses a cattle horn in black. It's the first time we're getting it in that color, and it's a very nice design. Autumn built it and really, really enjoyed that. Of course, with every single hit that we have, there is a miss, and the big miss that I want to point out first here is not the price, we'll get to that, but the trees. Lego has always struggled with trees. If you go back even to the Forest Men sets from the 1980s, I think Lego struggled with really getting the contouring and the bulkiness of the trees, as well as the foliage and all of that. Now, Lego at the time did come out with prefabricated trees, but has since moved largely to brick-built trees. And my big problem with them, including this set, is that they always are very, very parts consumptive if you want them to look really good. Now we can see this first with the tree atop Bag End right here. I've got Frodo sitting here. They have this picture on the box I'm doing, even though that's not where he's sitting as he's awaiting Gandalf's coming on the cart. But this just does not look like a full tree on top of Bag End like you would expect. There's a lot of gaps, there aren't a lot of leaves on it, and it looks a little droopy in places. Very, very, I think, poor on execution. Now, I do think one reason why this may be the case is, again, parts usage, but do you really want the tree to be the focal point or Bag End? Of course, the biggest violator of this is, well, this party tray here, which is an absolute disaster. I will say this, it looks better in person than it does on the box, and it's still an absolute disaster of a tree. Autumn refused to build it because it was so bad. She made me build it. And when she saw it at the end, no joke, she's a little bit of a drama artist. She started retching and threw herself on the ground. So it's kind of fun to watch that happen. But it's a bad tree. The trunk is very blocky. It does not strike you as a very good tree at all. The leaves and branches are pretty bare. You've got, of course, these stem pieces, which I think are new or newish in dark green. You get a lot of them. Still, like, it's very bare and does not look at all like the party tree that we got in the movie. And it looks like more like a pine tree than it does an oak tree, which is really disappointing. And again, it feels like it's mashed onto the back of this play feature right here, where Bilbo can disappear if you turn the knob in the back, which is kind of a cool play feature, but did we really need an ugly tree like that? So that's a huge miss when it comes to this particular set. The second hit that I want to mention is the center part of the set. The first thing you build in the instruction manual is the center part, and it is absolutely incredible. There's so many really fun techniques. The first thing I want to mention is that you start at plate level right here, but you work your way up to the entrance, which is raised up about a brick or so. And that's important because in the original, you just basically have the base plate and that's it. There's a little sidewalk that's raised up. This gives you much more feel of the landscape and is much more complex than what we see in that particular set. Now, starting at the very front, we've got this beautiful boomerang built fence. Autumn loved it so much. She loved it so much. She gave it a hug, like no joke. It was really fun. She built it and I'm just amazed by it when you turn and kind of not lock them into place, but turn the boomerangs into place. It was fantastic. And you add the pumpkins, you got some flowers, the mailbox, the sunflowers, which are brand new in Lego this year, especially those yellow ones, which look fantastic. And the one knock we had on this section was the gate, that the piece isn't quite long enough to really fit the entire opening there, and that it opens backwards instead of forwards, but that's a minor detail. Now you walk up to the front door, you've got a bench there, which Bilbo is keen to sit on, and then you get the door, which is nicely built. Now there's a really nice dark orange 6x6 round plate that is, I think, new in that color in the set. You've got the black Indiana Jones whip pieces that are curled on the back of it to represent the iron, and on the front you've got this microphone with the gold tip that's there to get that brass knob on the door. Now, the dark green also looks fantastic in that, and I believe those 3x3 macaroni tiles are new or newish in this set as well. But even then, when you walk in, you've got this fantastic rug piece that's there with a dark red floor that really pops. And again, much more detail, much more complexity than what we have in the original Shire set. Now, another thing I want to mention are these curved wedge pieces with cutouts that are used as archways above the door. Those are fantastic. Plus, there are these inverted arches that are used as supports flipped on their side. And of course, the windows that are flanking the door are incredibly done as well. We've got those new macaroni print tiles that have that brick printing on them, which I think could be used in other sets. And we do have those new window pieces as well. The whole framing of the window looks fantastic, and the dark orange, the dark tan allows those to pop. So that's a very nicely done section and was incredible to build, even if the top here wasn't quite great, but we already mentioned that as a miss. So my second miss is that there is a little bit of wonkiness with the interior. Now, the first part of the wonkiness that I noticed was around that nice door, there are some gaps. So it's not perfect, but it's pretty good and it opens smoothly. But there are some problems on the interior in terms of the layout and the lack of roof covering the entirety of the interior. Now, I don't view these as massive misses like some fans do. I know that Lego will compromise on the layout of a building because they want to emphasize certain things. And in this set, we're emphasizing Bilbo at his desk, even though it's in the wrong side of the bag end. The dining table is not nearly big enough, and I know people have talked about maybe having a bigger table so that the dwarves could sit around it, even though this is for Fellowship of the Ring. Like, you can imagine the table would be much bigger than they have there, but there are two seats, one for Bilbo, one for Gandalf as well. And the roof does not go in all the way, and some of that is due to angles. I think some of it also is just due to saving parts, and that's a little bit of a shortcut. Now, Lego does typically have sets that have the back protrude a bit to give you more play area, although not usually with icon sets, even if they are open-backed. Now again, this is a criticism that some people have. I don't view these as large criticisms, but I do want people to be aware of them if that's something that you really do care about. The third hit or thing that I love about this set are the minifigs. I mean, this is a really impressive lineup of minifigs that is, I think, pretty elite in terms of the execution. I will note that we have more of the dual molded short legs for the hobbits, but instead of getting just dark brown with the fleshy color on the bottom, we get a couple in dark blue with the fleshy color on the bottom. The dark blue used for Rosie and Frodo. Now, the other important thing about these minifigs is that every single torso is brand new. There were no corners cut on this. Some of the faces have been used before, but not any of the torsos. Now, this is important, with the exception of Gandalf. All the hobbits are brand new torsos, and that's a lot. They could have taken shortcuts with Farmer Proudfoot, as well as Merry and Pippin. Even Bilbo and Frodo, you could have reused something from the past, but they chose not to. They also gave us plenty of, I mean, look at Frodo and look at Bilbo's torsos. They look absolutely incredible with all of the detail on them. Even Rosie's dress is fantastic, her torso. And even though that the Proudfoots are a bit simpler in their torsos, they didn't use any pre-existing torsos, which I think is fascinating. Now, we also get a brand new dress or skirt piece for Mrs. Proudfoot, and that is also a nice inclusion for that. So they did a lot with these minifigs. If you look at the entire lineup, and it is fantastic. Plus, you get additional hair pieces for Merry and Pippin with the explosion of the fireworks. So you get this wild, crazy hairpiece that's from Ninjago, but in a new color in dark blue. You also get the ability to sit Frodo, Sam, and Gandalf. So they have not only their normal leg pieces, but bricks and pieces that you can put together so they can sit well, so you can reenact the scene where Frodo hops onto the cart as Gandalf is riding into the Shire. And Gandalf also comes with a hair and hat piece, so you've got some details there. So all these minifigs are really, really good, and I have to say, like, that is definitely where you can maybe understand where some of this cost is coming from. Now, speaking of costs, that leads us to our third miss of this set. I'm not the first person to mention this, but there is a tension here in this set between whether or not it's a play set or a display piece. You see this certainly with these side builds. The side builds, I'm not the first person to criticize this either. You're just not really sure why these are all included or if they have to be included, because the party tree itself is awful. It's nice to have the banner and the disappearing Bilbo function, but not necessary. The tent is nice, but again, the only reason you might include that is if you want to reenact the scene where Merry and Pippin shoot off the firework. And then, of course, you've got this big cake, which is great for Bilbo's birthday, but again, not really all that necessary. The only mini build that I really like, side build, is Gandalf's cart, which is a great refreshing of the Gandalf Arrives set from about a dozen years ago. If they had not included any of these over here, I would have been fine. Now, I do wonder, though, if that would have reduced the cost all that much. The canvas pieces are very, very well done. The printing on them is excellent. The font on Bilbo's birthday banner is incredible. It's impeccable. If you just look at the original one and then look at this one, they nailed it spot on. And so that might add a little bit of cost, but I don't know if it really warrants the amount of pieces that it needed, and they could have either invested those pieces into here to give us a little bit bigger roof sections or more details on the interior, and we're not talking about a lot, but just a little bit, or maybe reduce the price to $250 or $240, which I think would have been more palatable for people, even if all you had was this and the cart and the minifigs. Now, of course, I think there's a little bit of a deterministic factor here that Lego has, and I don't have evidence for this, but this is kind of what I'm thinking. is that Lego wanted this to be a tribute to Bilbo's birthday, so they call it the Shire and they add these side builds. And then once you add the side builds, you maybe want the minifigs. And once you want the minifigs, it justifies adding these things to the set. Like, you're not gonna maybe have Merry and Pippin if you don't have the tent. You might not have Rosie or a reason to include Rosie if you don't have the cake. So there is, I think, a little bit of, you get started going this path and you want the minifigs, so you add these mini builds to it. And they really weren't all that executed. Like, I find it very hard to believe that the set designer, who has some incredible building techniques in this set, couldn't figure out how to build a better party tree. So again, I think that's one of the flaws, is that, like, okay, we're gonna have these side builds, it's gonna raise the cost, but it's allowing us to put in some of these additional minifigs. And in the end, they called it the Shire, even though really all we wanted was Bag End. I don't think anybody was really asking for the party tree, the tent, or the cake. Even if people wanted a party tree, they didn't want this one. So I think Lego might have been a little too aggressive with that. And the other thing to note is that maybe Lego is taking this for granted. It's a $270 US set, which is about $200 less than you can get Barad-dûr, and more than $200 less than what you can get the Rivendell for. And so it's the most affordable and most accessible Lord of the Rings set that's minifig scale at this point in time. So maybe they thought they could mark it up. In the end, when you look at the price of this set, and I said it in my breakdown when they announced it, this is Star Wars pricing for Lord of the Rings. It is the most expensive Icons set in terms of price per piece that we've ever had. And I, quite frankly, am not a huge fan of that, even though, as you can tell, I did buy the set. So why did we buy this set then? There were three reasons. The first one is that my wife Julia said, well, this is Lord of the Rings, and of course we're gonna get Lord of the Rings because we collect Lord of the Rings. And if you are married, you know that if your wife says we're gonna buy a Lego set, you buy the Lego set. You don't have a whole lot of choice when it comes to that. But the second reason is, of course, we do have a YouTube channel. And we do know that just from the business and sense of a YouTube channel, it makes sense to review a set while it is still fresh in people's minds and there's a curiosity for it, and attention to individual Lego sets does decline the further you get from the release day. So we wanted to get it there. The third reason is because of the gift with purchase. Now, I'm not usually somebody that is swayed by gifts with purchase, but this time we were. I was tempted to just wait for this one maybe later in the year if there was a blanket double points month or week or weekend or something like that. But in the end, I decided, you know what, I really like the Smeagol and Deagle gift with purchase. I know not everybody does, but I like it and I wanted those minifigs, so we decided to get it. And of course, we have the Easter Bunny surprise, which was added on top of that, which also helped grease the wheels a little bit. So those gift with purchases did help move things toward purchasing this on day one, even though they don't usually do that. So what is our final verdict and rating when it comes to the set? Now, as I mentioned, this is a complex review in the sense that there's a lot going on with the set, and I hope you've seen some of the building techniques, the pieces, the details on the minifigs, as well as some of the things that I don't like about it. In the end, this is a set that I'm giving an 8 out of 10, and ignoring the price on for the moment in time. Now I'll come back to that in just a moment, but in looking at this set, building it, asking all the other members of the family like what they would rate it, the composite for our family is an 8 out of 10. The big knock on it, of course, is the tree. I think some of us were around like a 9 out of 10 with that, but some of us were like 7 out of 10 because of some, maybe a little bit of cost, but also the tree. In terms of the cost, I can't recommend this at $270. I think if you really want this set on day one or want it for the gift with purchase, you're gonna go ahead and get it, and that's fine. But if you are, you know, worried about the price or you don't like the price, wait. I don't think there's any reason for you to have to go out and get this set if you're a big Lego Lord of the Rings fan right now. I think you would wait on this and maybe get it at a better deal, discounted, double points, a better gift with purchase that you like, something along those lines. Quite frankly, this did have a lot of really cool building techniques and pieces, but it wasn't the same level as Rivendell. It wasn't the same level as the Lion Knight's Castle, or, in my opinion, the Medieval Blacksmith from a few years ago. There are a lot of sets that are in this age range that do a better job of keeping you engaged with the build than this one, even though this does a very good job, not quite elite in that regard. So I don't know if it's really worth getting day one, week one, month one, rather than just waiting to get it. So I hope I hope that this provided you some nice views of the set and some glimpses into what we're thinking about when it comes to it, and helped you make a decision whether or not to buy this set. Thanks for watching, and always remember to keep building together.